The first thing Daniel noticed was the boy's shoes. They were 2 sizes too big, the laces dragging on the floor like tired ribbons, the soles worn thin in places where the rubber had nearly surrendered. The little boy stood close to his mother's side, gripping her hand with the kind of urgency children only have when they're afraid of disappearing in the world. And the woman. Her clothes were torn, not fashionably distressed, not stitched with intent, but ripped in the way fabric gives up after too many bad days. Her sleeves were uneven. One shoulder of her faded dress was mended with thread that didn't even try to match. Her hair was tied back hastily, as though she hadn't had time to care how it looked in weeks. They didn't belong in Daniel's cafe. It wasn't an expensive place, but it was warm, clean, the kind of place where people brought laptops and talked about weekend trips and promotions. The kind of place where the biggest worry most mornings was whether the almond milk had run out. The bell above the door chimed, and for a second the usual hum of conversation softened, not silent, just enough to notice. Daniel wiped his hands on a cloth behind the counter and watched as she stepped forward, hesitant but determined. The boy didn't let go of her hand. "Excuse me," she said, her voice low. Can I get some hot water?" "Not coffee, not tea, just hot water." "For the baby," she added quickly, glancing down at the boy even though he was well past babyhood. Daniel's chest tightened in a way he didn't like examining too closely. "Of course," he replied. She looked surprised. "I can pay," she said, already fumbling through a worn purse, pulling out coins one by one as though counting them might somehow create more. "It's okay," Daniel said gently. "It's just water." She nodded, but her shoulders didn't relax. People who have had to fight for everything rarely trust kindness the first time it's offered. He poured the water into a takeaway cup and slid it toward her. Up close, he noticed the way her hands trembled, not from weakness, but exhaustion, the kind that seeps into your bones and makes even breathing feel like work. "Thank you," she murmured. The boy looked up at Daniel then, his eyes wide and curious. There was dirt on his cheek, but his gaze was steady, unashamed. Daniel had seen that look before. His own son used to wear it. As she turned to leave, the boy's stomach growled loudly enough that even the espresso machine couldn't hide it. A couple at the window glanced over, then quickly looked away, embarrassed by the reminder that hunger still existed outside news reports. Daniel didn't think, he just moved. "Wait." She froze, her back stiffening. "I made too many sandwiches this morning," he lied smoothly. "It happens sometimes. Would you take one, so it doesn't go to waste?" Pride is a strange thing. It survives even when everything else doesn't. "I don't want charity," she said quietly. "It's not charity," Daniel replied. "It's bad planning." The boy tugged at her hand. "It's okay, Mama," he whispered. "That did it." She hesitated for one heartbeat longer before nodding. "Thank you." They sat at the smallest table near the door. The boy devoured the sandwich like someone who'd learned meals were never guaranteed. She tried to eat slowly, but Daniel could see the way she kept glancing at him, as though expecting someone to come over and take it back. No one did. Over the next week they came back. Always just for hot water. Sometimes Daniel made too many sandwiches again. Sometimes there was soup that would otherwise spoil. Each time she resisted just a little less. Her name was Amina. The boy was Sami. And slowly, Daniel began to notice things that had nothing to do with torn clothes or empty pockets. The way she wiped the table before leaving, even though it was already clean. The way she thanked him every single time like she meant it. The way Sami offered half his cookie back to her because he thought she hadn't noticed he'd seen her skip a bite. He saw the way she spoke to her son, with patience, with gentleness, even when she looked like she hadn't slept in days. One afternoon, Sami dropped his cup and hot water spilled across the floor. Amina immediately knelt, apologizing over and over again, her voice shaking. "I'm so sorry, I'll clean it. I promise I'll clean it." "It's just water," Daniel said. But she kept apologizing. And that's when he understood. She wasn't afraid of the mess. She was afraid of being asked to leave. That night after closing, Daniel sat alone at one of the cafe tables while his daughter, Lily, colored beside him. "Daddy," she said, not looking up, "why does that boy wear sad shoes?" Daniel blinked. "What do you mean?" "They look tired," she explained simply. Children had a way of saying things adults tried too hard not to notice. He thought about Sami's careful manners, Amina's guarded eyes, the way they always chose the table closest to the door, like they might have to run at any moment. The next morning, when they came in, he asked a question he'd been turning over in his mind for days. "Are you looking for work?" Amina stiffened instantly. "I can clean," she said quickly, "or wash dishes. I used to work in a bakery before." Her voice faltered. Daniel nodded. "I could use some help here." She stared at him like he'd just offered her the moon. "I don't have references," she admitted, "and I can't afford childcare, so Sami would have to." "He can stay," Daniel said. Sami's face lit up in a way Daniel hadn't seen before. It wasn't easy at first. Amina worked like someone who believed mistakes might cost her everything. She triple-checked every order, apologized when she didn't need to, thanked him too much. But she learned fast. Faster than anyone else he'd hired before. Within a month, customers started noticing her, not because of how she looked, but because of how she made them feel. She remembered names, favorite drinks, asked about their day and listened to the answers. There was a quiet kindness in her that no amount of hardship had managed to break. And Daniel started noticing the way she laughed when Sami told her something important about dinosaurs, the way she hummed under her breath while wiping down counters, the way the cafe somehow felt warmer when she was in it. One evening, Lily handed Sami one of her crayons. "Now your shoes won't be sad," she said seriously. Amina looked up, confused, as Sami proudly showed her the bright blue smiley face Lily had drawn on the side of his worn sneaker. For the first time since Daniel had met her, Amina didn't look tired. She looked hopeful. Weeks turned into months. Torn clothes were replaced with simple, clean ones. Sami's shoes were new, though he insisted on keeping the old pair in his backpack, just in case. And somewhere between early mornings and late-night closings, Daniel realized something that had nothing to do with gratitude or responsibility. He admired her. Not for surviving, though that alone would have been enough, but for the way she refused to let survival make her hard. She was still kind, still patient, still capable of giving even when she had once had nothing. One night, after Sami and Lily had fallen asleep in the back office while watching cartoons, Amina sat across from him at the cafe table where she'd once eaten her first sandwich. "I didn't think anyone would see me again," she admitted softly. Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" "After everything, people just see the clothes, the mess, the problems." She looked down at her hands. "They stop looking for anything else." Daniel thought about the day she'd walked in, how everyone had noticed the tears in her dress, but not the way she held her son's hand like he was the most important thing in the world. "I saw you," he said quietly. She looked up then. And for the first time, she didn't look like she was waiting for something to be taken away. Sometimes, the most beautiful things weren't the ones that arrived polished and perfect. Sometimes, they walked in wearing torn clothes and holding the hand of a little boy with tired shoes, and carried a heart strong enough to survive anything. Daniel had only meant to offer hot water. He hadn't expected to find something that would change both their lives forever.